Think about it. Every hiring decision is a choice that can make or break a team, a culture, and even an entire company. So how do we make the right choice? Hi, I'm Dr. Mickey, and welcome to Inside the Mind of Hiring. Here we'll uncover the psychology and strategy behind effective hiring. Because the right fit isn't just about skill or experience. It's about understanding people, their motivations, their strengths, and the shadows of their shortcomings. Together, we'll tackle the tough questions. How do we look beyond bias? How do we find the qualities that make people not just qualified hires, but the right hires? This is about identifying leaders who drive success, lift morale, and actualize a company's vision. Inside the Mind of Hiring starts now. Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Mickey, and this is my host and colleague, Dr. Pat.
Yep, and we're here.
We're here. And, the title of the show name is Inside the Mind of Hiring, which you heard in the intro. And this episode is for, I would say it's for hiring managers and teams and also job seekers. Very important for both. And I titled it, So You're Not Being Taken Seriously, huh? But don't be a victim. Don't be a victim. So the story wraps around two recent women that I had the pleasure of testing for an accounting manager job, key job, for a holding company or a private equity firm that owns and manages or develops several other companies. So the position is based in the holding company or the parent company, so to speak. Very important role. And both candidates were soundly qualified and actually came across credibly to me in the interview. However, when I asked them, and by the way, I didn't interview them together. They were competitive candidates for this position. So when I asked each one of them, tell me about your weaknesses and what do you do to manage them? They both said, well, because I'm a female, I've experienced times where I don't feel I've been taken seriously. And wow. I was kind of, I've heard that before. This is not the first time that I've heard that. But when I was a little, in some ways, in the context of the interview, I thought that was a little strange to hear that. Because to me, it wasn't something that they were presenting as a personal shortcoming per se that they have to work on. They don't want on a personal level. Mm-hmm. It was something more generic. It was like a physical, it was a physical handicap, being a woman, and not being taken seriously. Yeah. So that kind of surprised me a little bit.
What did that spark in you there, Dr. Mickey? What did that little not taken seriously thing hit you?
Well, it even in male-dominated industries, which one of them suggested, and I want to add that the other one said I'm kind of short in stature. I'm about 5 feet tall, so that might add to the problem. But to me, that's another physical. It's another physical disability.
So is Scarlett Johansson. Yeah. I think Nat's going to have to fact check me on that.
Right.
But so is, yeah.
So anyway, it took me back a bit because. Basically, what can you do about being female or, other than just being female? But the thing is, honestly, I understand their experience, but I was really, really interested in how they manage that and manage that feeling. Yeah. And, because it's got to be sort of downgrading and disappointing at times for women to experience that. But what I was most interested in these candidates is were they victimized by it, and how they deal with it or how they've dealt with it over the years, knowing that issue tends to loom. And I also wanted to find out whether I wouldn't recommend them because of that tendency, the tendency to be self-victimizing in a situation, when they feel that way.
Well,
So,
can you talk about that for a minute? Because I don't think our audience really understands the definition of that. Because there's a fine line between self-victimization and humility. Now, Tom Cruise is what, Nat? 5'7"? Yeah.
he's a little guy.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't hear him talk about it. Why? What's the
No,
difference?
no,
But
no,
please define
it's a badge of honor for him.
yeah.
He probably
Yeah.
overcompensated for all his life, and he continues to
Well,
win.
he didn't stand next to Nicole Kidman. That was part of the solution.
Yeah.
But let's talk
But he
about
did.
what he did. But let's talk about this, what it means, this what would you call it, self-victimization, because it really is important. Why am I saying that? Dr. Mickey, listen. According to the National Women's Law Center, as of June, 338,000 women 20 or older have left the labor force since January.
Mm.
So let's just get into this feeling of victimization, because there is something happening now. But that feeling, each of us gets to decide that. We get to
Right,
decide if we're going to feel like that after
right,
losing a job or whatever. But what were
right.
you struck by?
Well,
Because it struck a chord with you.
because I'm not sure they associated with having a disability. Because
Right.
it's because that's the way in some ways it felt like that. It's like people that are in wheelchairs, for example. It's a physical issue that they have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, but I'm not sure I see it as a weakness per se.
Mm-hmm.
Other than if you construe it as a physical disability or a handicap, then perhaps you may be victimized by it. And that's sort of what made me feel, I wanted to explore that because they seem so qualified and, they presented themselves credibly during the interviews. Is this really getting them down? Is this something that they're bitter about or they're having a hard time with, and it's going to affect them and other people that they're working with in the workplace?
Mm-hmm.
They're managers. They both achieved the management levels, but victims can be CEOs. It's possible. So I wanted, I needed to explore that with them, both in the data, of course, and in the interview.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they both tested as extremely determined people, and really positive attitudes about overcoming problems and obstacles, to achieve in their jobs and careers. So that is telling me, maybe I shouldn't take that too seriously. They both started out as individual contributors. They were both relatively quickly given broadening responsibilities and more diversified challenges technically in their careers, and they both progressed to supervisors and management roles, and they both acknowledge their aspirations to become controllers in the short term or intermediate term, and in the long term become CFOs, chief financial officers. So that wasn't saying that they were victimizing themselves, but it's hanging over their head. It's something that they've experienced, and I really wanted to explore this completely, as well as just getting to know them as people. I didn't just want to zero in on that factor, but it did become a factor to me in the evaluation. So one of the ladies acknowledged her anxiety about not letting people down and being a little bit gun shy about perhaps setting limits for people, and that this has caused some people to take advantage of her. And I'm thinking, well, now you're getting to something that's something that you can, is a personal, it's not endemic to who you, it's not physically endemic to who you are. It's something psychological that you can think about and modify somewhat. Okay. And I thought she was maybe getting to the core of the issue for her than being a woman per se. Part of me has, some difficulty accepting that women would feel that way, but I know they do.
Well, can we hit the pause button a minute? Because I always
Right.
love when you bring these things up so that I can really refresh the page with
Right.
statistics.
Okay.
In 2024 and 2025, reports indicated many women still experience feelings of victimization despite overall gains in diversity. So let's get down to numbers.
Okay.
Workplace harassment affect women at disproportionate rates and nothing's being done or very little.
Right.
Women in low paid, male dominated fields. January, a study found that 1 in 4 employees reported being a victim of workplace harassment. So this is what's happening. Since the reversal of, can we call them guidelines? Since the
Hmm.
reversal of guidelines, 8 in 10 women have experienced workplace sexual harassment in their lifetime. See, this
Right.
is not just pretending to be victim. This is a business situation which now we have turned a blind eye to, and it has gotten worse. And so when you take a look at this, 38% of women in the workplace have had have had their expertise undermined in hostile environments. These are real studies that have come out. So this is
And
what
by
we're
the way,
talking
you know who
about.
does a lot of that? Some of their
Who?
bosses who are women.
Well, no, no, nope, not going there. That is not true. This
Well,
is by men. No,
it
these
is.
studies
Oh,
are by
okay.
men.
If it's
This is
specifically,
all male dominated. Yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah,
Now,
this one of these ladies gave
that's
me
an
an
old
insight.
wives' tale now. That thing is so old.
It
That thing
still
about
exists.
women went back to Hillary Clinton running for president. Or better yet, Oprah. Oh, wait,
Right.
let's talk about Ellen DeGeneres go under the arm of scandal over that accusation. However, there's a fine line between performance management and victimization. You see,
Right.
it's so interesting
Okay.
we're not talking
Okay.
about this, but you got to get the stats right, right? For every
Mhm.
100 men promoted to manager in
Right.
2021, only 89 white women and 81 women of color were promoted. So you
Right.
see, there's something going on here that the question is this, Dr. Mickey. And by the way, ambition, it's so good you're looking at this, but ambition in women today, they bury the heavier load. So what's happening, especially women in senior roles? So what's happening? They're finding it harder to prove themselves, legitimize. They're expected to handle more. And now all the funding has been cut. Why do you think 200, I think it's 338, somebody said 500. The reason
Right.
women had to leave, no flexible hours, they've been removed. All funding has been cut, or most of it, on daycare. I don't actually know how women are not feeling victimized right now.
Or not taken seriously. And that's,
Well, they're
but what you're
clearly not
describing,
taken seriously
what you're
over and over
describing,
again. Right,
Dr. Pat, what you're describing is victimization,
exactly.
not
And
self. What you're not describing self victimization. You're describing victimization at
But can
someone.
you imagine yourself in that situation over a lifetime career and not feeling a little bit victimized? You know, it reminds me of that TV show Cold Justice, right? Where she comes in, Kelly the prosecutor, right? She comes in
Right.
and she holds, we don't have that. We don't have a Kelly. So, what is it in all of what you looked at with these two people? What did you take away from it? What can we hold up high for these two?
Well, I didn't. I've got to be straight about these two ladies in
Yeah.
particular. I felt that they were. I felt that their experience about not being taken seriously was more subtle than abusive. Okay, I did feel that because I do know what you're talking about when women are actually
You mean from them
victimized women.
explaining it? They did it subtly. They explained it subtly, or is that your opinion that it's subtle?
That was my opinion because of the way they explained it to me and the way they approached it with me.
They're on an
Uh,
interview.
okay.
They're not going to, you know
So,
what, all
okay,
over their
so what
parade.
you're saying is, Dr. Pat, that they've been victimized.
If they even mentioned it in an interview for a top executive job, you're getting a tip of the iceberg.
Right,
I coach women at that level, and I'm not
right,
at liberty to talk about it, but I am one of
right,
those women.
right,
We would never come on an interview with you I mean, we'd have to be out of our minds to come on there
Right.
and say, Mickey, let me tell you the time my boss got in the closet with me. We wouldn't do that. But
I
can
was
you look
surprised.
though?
I was surprised. I've got to be honest with you. I was surprised that they mentioned it at all based on what they've done and what
I
they've
am
accomplished.
too.
Okay.
However, that's what sets men and women apart sometimes in these interviews.
Right.
There's a level of vulnerability and a level of honesty that just shows up. But give yourself some credit, Dr. Mickey, because you allowed the safe space for that. So you have to really look at
Oh,
you.
sure, sure.
Yeah. If
Yeah,
it was somebody else,
they felt comfortable enough in our dialogue, in our
I'm telling you,
relationship.
they'd have been like an oyster in July, so
Right.
shut tight, right? But
Right.
but they must have felt comfortable.
They did. I also told myself that they must have felt comfortable enough to divulge that. Maybe because I'm a psychologist or just the way we clicked together in the interview,
Mhm.
which is, to me, rapport with the person I'm interviewing is really important to me. I want them to feel respected and that they're being listened to and they are being taken seriously because these are serious jobs that they're interviewing for. So they could have felt legitimatized. They could have felt validated and comfortable enough to share that with me. Yes.
Yeah. Did you know 51% of the women on the job study found are bullied?
Study
50,
what?
is it 51% of the women on the job say they were bullied. And that
Oh,
71% of their bullies are men.
71% are men. I'm not aware of that, but I know, and
You know
even
me, I like
recently,
to study the heck out of the
I
numbers,
know
Dr. Mickey.
there's plenty of women that are being bullied by other women in the workplace. And they're often they're bosses. So that's not too far in the
Why do
past.
you think they brought it up? Let's talk about this. I want to get back to the interview because there's something
Yeah.
intriguing for me about this. What
Okay.
are they sharing with you to try to find out? Am I walking in? Look, are you throwing me to the lions and I don't have a savior so that I'm not eaten to death? Is that why you think they brought it up to really test the field with you to see what am I getting into here, Dr. Mickey?
I thought they brought it up because they felt maybe that I would show some empathy about it and help them maybe either tell me or even on the spot talk about ways that they could,
Yeah,
ameliorate the problem or alleviate the problem for themselves.
yeah,
What they could do. And when one of the when one of the women or people said to me, I have this issue. She said, I have this anxiety about letting people down.
yeah.
To me, it's a little more fundamental. It's a little closer for me to the issue than worrying about whether your gender is compromising you.
Yeah, no.
I did, and
But
I
that's a
felt
universal law. That one right there is men and women, right? Men just don't
right.
say it. You're not going to hear Tom Brady say, well, later on in his career, he'd be like, I'm just so worried about letting my team down. But generally speaking, there's like a whole different set of guidelines. But see, that was a beautiful admission to you.
Oh,
What'd you
it
do with
was.
that? What'd you do
Yeah,
with that, Dr.
well,
Mickey?
I said in a report, I said, it's important for her to think of herself as small but mighty,
I
mighty,
love that. I love that.
small but mighty. And in that sense, she could step up her capacity or her willingness to express her concerns when she doesn't agree
Hmm.
with something or
You
she's
know who
bothered by
else was
something.
small and mighty?
Ooh,
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
she sure was.
Dang, now let's talk about. But is it too soon to ask you how are these women, how are they faring with this interview? Is it too soon? You know what I'm saying? I mean, did you recommend either of them? Where were you in the outcome?
I recommended both of them
See,
because I think they're fundamentally determined
yeah,
ladies. They're not cowed by obstacles or problems, and they really do push
mm,
themselves to overcome issues that they
yeah,
face.
yeah,
I really felt that was fundamentally going on with both of them, and I reported the issue, what they said, as one part of the report.
Hmm.
The hiring manager had uh, one of the women didn't accept the job. She was countered in her current position.
Of course
Uh,
she was.
Damn right she was. She was good. She was countered in her current
Yeah.
position. Didn't take the job. The other person, from what I know, did accept the job. But
Okay.
in both cases, the hiring manager asked me about it. Are they going to be victims here? Is that what we can expect? And I said, no. You're not going to hear the word, and you're not going to see the behavior. They might have concerns, but they're not going to sit there and lie down for anybody. They're going to
Mhm.
overcome their issues, and they're going to keep going
Yeah.
and keep achieving on your behalf and their own behalves.
I
Um, so, one, it was really interesting. The other lady told me about an experience she had influencing the senior executives in her company, including the CFO, who were resistant to change the monthly close process to a process that she thought would work better and actually reduce the time in half. And the related reporting process around that information in the monthly close, she improved that so it was clearly much more understandable by others who had to
mm,
use the information. So, she did things like that. And, if you're going to step up and do things like that when you're obviously resisted by a couple levels higher than you, you're probably not going to be a victim. You're not going to allow yourself to be a victim. So
yeah.
that was, I thought she could improve in other areas.
Mm. Oh, okay. Hmm.
I thought she could ask for help when she needs it, and she acknowledged that as an issue because I think people really, it's counterintuitive, but people really respect that, and they want to help you. Not for every little thing, but key things that you need help with. Ask for help. Don't sit there and stew about it. Ask for assistance, or ask to understand it more effective, so you can be more effective at it. And the other thing, I thought she could schmooze a little bit more in the workplace. And
Oh my God. Did you actually say that to her?
I didn't say it in those words. I
Well,
said,
you understand that it's
yeah.
hard for me to imagine, given
Well,
what you
yeah,
shared about her, that
yeah,
she
maybe
doesn't do
that's
her
the
fair
wrong
share of
word.
schmoozing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, just engage people more informally on a more personal level. It builds it facilitates openness and trust. And I thought she could do that a little bit more readily. And I felt that she could convey emotion and solicit emotion more in terms of her approach to influencing people.
Yeah, see,
You
that's
know,
because you have never been a woman in the workplace. Because if you're a woman in the workplace like me,
yeah.
and you start to do that, your boss walks up to you one day and says, I told you to leave your personal flat, blah, blah, blah at the door. And I'm like, I'm just walking through and asking people if they want coffee. Why? Why are you doing that?
uh,
We need, so
okay. All
we
right.
have to
Okay.
learn. We
Dr.
have to
Pat, I
learn
agree
the
that there's
balance. We
schmucks out
have
there.
to, we have to learn though the culture. See, Mickey,
Right.
what you're saying is the culture, and we have a
Well,
minute.
I
Let's
do know the
talk
culture in
about it.
these
So
companies.
you
Yeah.
knew the
Right.
culture required her to do that. So we need to
Right.
state that for everybody listening here. If you're women out there like shaking your head right now, Dr. Mickey knows the culture. He knows the
Oh,
executive team.
sure.
So he would
Right.
never recommend schmoozing if he didn't think the leadership team were schmoozers, right, Dr.
Absolutely. No, absolutely not. No,
You don't want to be locking yourself in your
no,
office when your senior
no.
team is down the hall having
Yeah,
coffee.
I appreciate you bailing me out on that. No,
But it's
I
true.
do know the culture. I do know the culture of the companies that I'm testing people for. And if I think it's a good idea for their own development and it would fit into the culture, I would
Mhm.
always recommend something like that. Sure.
I love this
Absolutely.
episode, Dr. Mickey. And I got to tell you what I love about you. I love that we're able to banter back and forth. But in the end, what I want people to understand about who Dr. Mickey Feinberg is you have a giant heart. You have precision skills to evaluate people. You're highly intuitive in what you do, but you're based on the facts, not just of the individual, but you're looking out for the people that you're really considering because you're not going to send anybody into the lion's den, right?
Right.
You wouldn't do that. On the other hand, you're looking at the culture of the executive team.
Right.
right? And I'm sure
the
you're not
environment,
done
sure.
with them having a
No,
conversation with whatever his
no,
name was
no,
about the
no.
victimization. But you see, that's why you're as good as you are.
Thank you.
No, I'm not kidding. I've shared this with you before. The top assessment for Gen Zers, Xers, triple Zs, whoever's coming out of the workforce and coming out of college, they didn't pick money or promotion. They picked empathy and compassion as their number 1 and 2 obligation, and number 3 was respect.
Right.
See,
Absolutely.
that's what you're doing.
Right. That's sort of, I'm trying, I was in the report, and eventually when I do give them a feedback after a few months, or at least the one that took the job, I'll share those issues with her, and see how she reacts to them, to see if she feels it would work in that environment.
But also ask her for the
I would
solution.
yeah,
Ask it. Look, those of us that have had women as mentors, Mary Louise Smith, I love you to this day. Never walked in her room without her asking me, Vasily, what part of the problem are you?
right.
Now, I don't do that with
See,
my team
she
because I think
asked
my
you to,
team would just walk out with
right,
that question.
right.
But that
But
is what's in the back of my mind always.
sure, it's just take stock of yourself.
I
How can you
did.
do, yeah. How can you do that? I mean, Pat, I'm proud to have known many women who have started at entry level or close to entry level
That's
jobs
me.
that have shot to the top or senior positions, and even to the top level in their company, the top position in their
It's
companies.
awesome.
And I've seen plenty of women who I've been proud to know who have started their own enterprises and built them into successful companies, with either majority or complete ownership. And
Yep.
they're great people and great women.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they do it, and they overcome a lot of that stuff that
I
we're talking
cannot
about.
wait to our next episode because you see, Dr. Mickey, what's happening here is a real dialogue, and that it's hard to get real dialogue between two people that don't judge each other but
Right.
can learn from each other. Dr.
Sure.
Mickey, give out your
Hey,
website.
hey,
Thank
and
you
by
for
the way,
today.
yeah, good facts, by the way, Pat, Dr. Pat. Good
I
facts.
prepare for my shows, Dr.
Yes,
Mickey.
I get it. You do.
All right,
So
give us your website.
it's deltaconsultants.com. Deltaconsultants.com. You'll get into my website, which is kind of interesting. Email me at mickey@deltaconsultants.com,
I love it.
or look me up on LinkedIn, Dr. Mickey Fineberg, Fineberg.
I can't
And
wait to who you have next. Thank you, Dr. Mickey. Thank you, Nat. To all of you out there, we take your comments. Get us at comments@thedrpatshow.com. Please, we want you to engage in these shows. As a matter of fact, some of the clips I hope Nat picks will get us engaged. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Dr. Pat. You have been listening to Inside the Mind of Hiring with me, Dr. Mickey Feinberg. Tune in the first and third Tuesday at 11 on Transformation Talk Radio to discover the psychology of making successful hiring decisions. In each episode, hiring managers and HR pros will learn how to leverage assessments and other key screening sources and avoid common pitfalls. Job seekers will gain insight into successfully presenting themselves. For more information on assessing people for mission-critical jobs and on career assessment and coaching, visit deltaconsultants.com and my LinkedIn profile. If you'd like to write me personally, it's Mickey, Mickey, @deltaconsultants.com.